Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Golden Opportunities Coaching and Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channels. We got over 2,400 of these available for your listening pleasure. We're hoping to continue to add. This is the 1991 March 23rd, 1991 edition of WCW Saturday Night, and we continue our foray through that. There's about a dozen of these left in 1991. Then we'll go back to 1990, which is a little leaner in our pickings, but we'll do what we can. Then go to 89, which I think almost the whole year of 89 on back to 1985 or 86 is available. So anyway, continuing to go through some really enjoyable stuff here. This is my first time through 1991 as a complete product. Because I didn't really become heavily involved with watching WCW until the summer of 1992 when I got cable. I saw things here and there, but not consistent. Anyway, so we move forward to the featuring of opening footage from the previous week, including involving Ron Simmons, Teddy Long, Kevin Sullivan, and the One Man Gang. Also included in the footage from the previous week, Terence Taylor beating Bobby Eaton after hitting him in the throat with a computer, and Tom Zink coming up to tell the referee what had happened. Mr. Hughes also attacking Zink, featuring the announcement of the full lineup for the April 4th, 1991 card for the Meadowlands, including Gordon Soley hosting a segment on the wrestling wrap-up in which he discussed the tag team scene in the annual and announced Brian Pillman facing Barry Windham following night on the main event. Footage also then showed Pillman beating Windham at the War Games during the Wrestle War 91 show. Soley then said the video of the WCW World Champ Ric Flair versus IWGP Champ Tatsumi Fujinami match from the Tokyo Dome is being held up for review and couldn't be shown until the following week, featuring a bringing up of Sullivan and the One Man Gang in to take care of Ron Simmons. World Champion Ric Flair, Barry Windham defeating six-man tag team champions Ricky Morton, Sub-4 Thomas Rich, and Big Josh 13:08 when Windham pinned Morton after Flair landed a knee to the back of the head as Morton had Windham covered in Sunset Flip. Prior to the bout, Jim Ross also told Flair left Tokyo, Japan with the world title, but many of the Japanese fans believed Tetsuji Fujinami is the rightful champion due to the controversial match ending, and ultimately Flair is the main focus of that and hits, report on the match from the drawing 50,000 fans. Here the following week, Rich is taken backstage after the 10-minute mark by enhancement workers after sustaining the figure 4 on the arena floor, and then Flair hurt his leg, hit him in the leg with Josh's axe handle. Also included moments later, Morton comes out to fill in Rich's spot during the final moments of the match. Rich had his leg bandaged, tries to come back into the match. Josh keeps him from the ring, distracting the referee while Flair attacks Morton. After the match, Flair and Windham attack Morton, Rich, and Josh until El Gigante makes the save and applies the claw on Windham. Sid Vicious then comes out to jump Gigante until Josh clears the ring with the axe handle. What a cluster mess to open the show. Just in reading that, it's there as a reminder of how overbooked much of WCW was at the time. And then, the following week, you'd see something much more simple and much more basic. All that in a 13-minute match segment. And, Tommy Rich taking down Barry Windham. Match could be much simpler. Flair coming in and kind of doing the Spartacus thing, which obviously did not go according to the plan of Jim Hurt or anybody associated with things at the time. Barry Windham also coming around, and Barry Windham doing the shorter hair. Tommy Rich and Ric Flair in the same ring is kind of interesting. 10 years apart from being NWA champions, kind of a thing there. Big Josh gets taken down by Flair, punch kick, very basic stuff by Flair. Horsemen still are considered a force to be reckoned with here. The attempted double clothesline. Big Josh, though, at the time, you would think was being put forward as a major star being in there with Flair, but that push never really materializes in a way where it's taken as seriously as it could be, should be, might be, whatever. Anyway, take down Flair, uh, Wyndham going after Tommy Rich for several more minutes here. Wyndham also managing to uh, take out his adversary while Flair is taking out Morton with the axe handle. And again, really basic things, nothing necessarily worth writing home about, but at the same time, a couple of punches and some basic maneuvers there by Flair. Flair taking his opponent down pretty consistently. And then we see the figure four on Big Josh for a minute. Josh is basically the babyface star of the match for the vast majority of it, as we continue to see Flair kind of brawling back and forth with him. Also, Flair taking his man down quite a bit there. Then we go into the next in series of matches, which happens to be an enhancement match for Sting. Sting, of course, still kind of looking a little weak after his world title loss in January of the year. Obviously, Sting holding the championship from the Great American Bash 1990 until a little bit later there. But again, kind of a basic thing here. And not that there's anything terribly wrong with being basic at the time, but it's there, and Sting taking a couple shots from his adversary. Sting manages a couple of clotheslines and other such things. Basically, managing the Stinger Splash in the corner and the WCW Scorpion Deathlock, otherwise known as the Sharpshooter. Sting does end up pinning Lou Fabrino with a splash off the top rope, 326 after the bout. Jim Ross conducts a ringside interview with Sting, during which Sting discusses an upcoming steel cage match with the WCW World Champion Ric Flair, with El Gigante as the special guest referee. Gigante being pushed as a major potential star. That obviously never materializes. Dustin Rhodes, Tracy Smothers, and Steve Armstrong defeat Dutch Mantel, Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker, and Lieutenant James Earl Wright of the State Patrol, 8:45. When Rhodes pins right after a backdrop into a bulldog during the bout, Diamond Dallas Page, with the Diamond Stud, makes his way out, and with the Diamond Doll and Big Daddy Dink also cut an insert promo regarding Smothers and Armstrong facing Michael Hayes and Jimmy Garvin. It's announced during the contest that Bobby Eaton and Tom Zink would face Terence Taylor and Buddy Landell the following night on the main event, with JYG also saying he's pretty involved in that whole deal too in the upcoming segment. Anyway, I mean, Dustin Rhodes getting the refs here. The Wild-Eyed Southern Boys, Tracy Smothers, Steve Armstrong, they're certainly guys who are pretty continual and very basic and all of that. And, again, you kind of have to temper things with the realities of everything here, in the sense of Jim Ross maybe not getting the most out of the Sting promo, but Sting still a former world champion. Sting probably the WCW guy at the time. Lots of crisscrosses, lots of basic stuff as the Dutch Mantel takes over. And again, the heel team in the six-man tag, which is one thing WCW known for six-man tags that really, I wouldn't say don't matter, but at the same time, I mean, this is just a filler. He easily could have done a tag team match that had something to do with tag team rankings, but instead they do the six-man that really has no long-term value, which to me, I mean, if you've got national television time, every segment shouldn't matter. Junkyard Dog out next in an enhancement match here. Junkyard Dog looks like he ate a house, and Junkyard Dog in a really short match here. Hits a couple headbutts, nothing of major value. Basically says he's going to devour anybody in his way. Also mentions Mr. Hughes as a guy Kind of flirts with Missy Hyatt a bit, which is just goofy. Why would Missy Hyatt even take him seriously? Then we go to another in the series of matches. Z-Man Tom Zink up next. Zink, of course, in his beginning of program um, with the um, Diamond Stud at the time. Not exactly a full run there, but a basic enough run, I guess you'd say. And again, Tom Zink, uh, pretty well treated like a pretty big deal going forward there uh, through that run. Um, then we kind of see, um, you know, the talk of the Diamond Doll, the talk of everything that's coming forward, and um, Lex Luger is also part of this show as well. But before we get there, Tom Zink defeating Mike Thor, missile dropkick 322. After the bout, Terence Taylor tries to attack Zink from behind. Zink fights him off before facing off with Mr. Hughes. Taylor then jumps Zink with Bobby Eaton coming out to Zink's aid. And then, that's a very basic deal there, furthering the York Foundation angle. It's amazing to me that the York Foundation really doesn't have a long-term value, but at the same time is all over TV here in 1991. Lots of decent enough match filler, but nothing of major note. Again, Tom Zink winning his squash match with the top rope missile dropkick, getting him to where he wants to be there. Then we move to a wrestling wrap-up segment with Gordon Soley highlighting the Brian Pillman bouncing his head off the top of the cage by Sid Vicious, which isn't a bad thing to highlight since it was a pretty dangerous spot and could easily get Sid over as a major force had Sid been staying. Odd to me that they were pushing Sid as hard as they were when he very easily could have thought wasn't staying with the company at the time. Anyway, Sid leaving a few months later and not going in a positive direction by any stretch of the imagination there. And again, kind of going back forward here, the nature of things as we're about halfway through this program. Again, the WCW 1991 series is kind of there in a very basic run at the time. Again, Tom Zink getting attacked by Terence Taylor. Zink and Taylor do have a pretty good run post this with several matches over the next several months. Owen Hart against Joe Kazana. Owen Hart coming in for a handful of TVs. Think about that. He was part of WrestleMania, which what's odd to me is I think they brought him back in time for. No, actually, wait. That's WrestleMania 8. Never mind. I was going to say they brought him back in time for WrestleMania same year, but they did not. But Owen Hart still was on the Royal Rumble 1991 at the time, I think. Although, no, that's 92 with Jim Neidhart. Just, it's weird when you consume as much content as I do. The timelines sometimes miss. Odd to me, though, regardless, that Owen Hart was not seen as a guy to build around for a WCW very heavy wrestling-related product. I mean, imagine a Barry Windham at his peak versus Owen Hart, or Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, just so many guys that Owen Hart could have easily been a really good run with, or even like a Bobby Eaton tag team, just amazing things. Owen Hart with the belly-to-belly suplex, or Northern Light suplex, actually, getting him a victory. Lex Luger, as mentioned before, the U.S. champion, managing to go after his adversary here. Torture rack in under probably 2 minutes worth of television time. The Freebirds up next, Jimmy Garvin and Michael Hayes, along with a third run here. I believe one of the tribal Samoan warriors is there, Big Daddy Dink, who is a character that I still, to this day, don't understand the value of. Then we go, again, the Freebirds in. Freebirds relatively new. They are in there with some enhancement talents. Michael Hayes doing the majority of the walk and strut. And to me, Michael Hayes is a guy who history hasn't been as kind to as it could be. Michael Hayes, to me, I know Bill Watts didn't see him as this huge, great wrestler, but I certainly see Michael Hayes as better than they gave him credit for being. Uh, Anyway, so we go Michael Hayes, Jimmy Garvin with Big Daddy Dink defeats Larry Santos and Greg Sawyer 503. Garvin pins Sawyer with a DDT prior to the bout. Hayes, Garvin, and Dink. So escorted to the ring by Diamond Dallas Page and a Diamond Doll along the way. Tracy Smothers and Steve Armstrong also cut a promo on facing Hayes and Garvin after the bout. Not sure that this match needed to go 5 minutes, but again, you're filling TV time. Hayes and Garvin and Dink continue to attack their opponents until Smother and Armstrong make the save after a brief brawl. Things continue to go in that direction. Terence Taylor, the founding member of the York Foundation with Alexander York and Mr. Hughes, pinning Joey Maggs 212 with the 5-arm. Taylor gets a couple of firemen to carry takeovers, arm bars, and the like. Hits the 5-arm. Ross conducts an interview with Taylor and York at ringside with Hayes regarding York saying she's looking at Larry Zbyszko and Dustin Rhodes to potentially join the York Foundation. Moments later, Rhodes comes out, tells York that he would never join the group and would be happy to face any of her men. After Rhodes leaves, York says she could change attitudes and she liked his ability. Then we go to the one-man gang with Kevin Sullivan and Teddy Long defeating Ranger Ross with the 747 splash, 351. Not a lot in this match. One-man gang at the time is just abysmally bad. Nothing wrong with George Gray, the person, but I don't know that the character ever fleshed out. It kind of made him look like he came out of a horror movie or something. Catching Ross coming off the top rope and hitting a body slam during the bout. One-man gang no-sold Ross's combat kick finisher after the contact had been made. One-man gang hits the splash twice more, and Ron Simmons clears the ring, press slams Long into Sullivan, and one-man gang on the floor. Obviously, Ron Simmons turning babyface here, getting ready for his run at Lex Luger months later. Then we go to the final match of the day. Sid Vicious defeating Mike Tobelko 2-10, 1 foot on his opponent's chest, following the powerbomb after the bout. Tobelko is placed on a stretcher and EMTs take him out, but Vicious knocks him off the stretcher, hits him with a broadcast ending maneuver, and nails him with the just a couple more shots as the television broadcast comes to a close. Certainly Sid Vicious at the time, something they were, I guess, thinking about building around but didn't. I don't really know what the value of that would be. But anyway, we continue to be in your ears for this WCW review series. Like I said, continuing into 1990 all the way back to 1985, hopefully. Coming forward there. We'll be back with more right after this.